grateful for her. Honestly, she's just a such uh, a gift to me. So now we are live on YouTube with Bruce Rawls and Lynn Johnson, and we're going to be reading A Symphony of Love by Dr. Kenneth Wapnick. And I'll get that picture better the next time. But
Okay.
let's get our live going on. There we go. And here we are. So now we are live. Oh, there we go. See, and I can even hear us. Johnson, and we're going to be reading. There we go. Smiling Ken. That's so
That's a
sweet.
great photo of him, isn't that cover?
It
Yeah.
really, really is.
Yeah.
It needs to be reversed, but
And this is my first time um, reading a digital book rather than a physical book. We've moved so many times. I was joking with my wife Nancy this morning. It's like, well, she's chided me for having such a huge library, which over the last few years I've managed to whittle down to just a few physical books that occupy really just about two shelves on the bookcase that's sitting right next to me of just the favorites. And having moved a whole lot of books a whole lot of times over a whole lot of years. Not all of the 33 moves I've done, but a good number of them. And
oh
so,
my
so now I'm
Lord.
down to two book two shelves and one bookcase next to me. As far as there might be a few other books here and there, but that's pretty much it. And
Oh yeah,
they're
that's a
probably 90% are course related. But anyway, shall I kick us off with the the title and the subtitle?
sure. And before that, I was just going to say, I still have engineering, environmental engineering books
Uh,
and in chemistry and physics and all that. I'm like, what am I going to do with these
I
books?
know, I know. I've had the same. Well, not so much chemistry. I had a few. I think I had one chemistry book that I hung on to for a long time from my college days. But yeah, I had a pretty good collection too for a lot of
Pretty
years.
funny when you think
Yeah.
about
Oh
it.
yeah.
All right.
The joke was that when I'd taken like 3 or 4 trunk loads of mostly metaphysical books to the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library when I was going back and forth from Livermore, California, where my mom lived and where I grew up, to the the Ashland um, uh, Metaphysical Library in Southern Oregon. And after that, uh, I one evening, a young man from the peninsula of San Francisco came over with a minivan, and I helped him load, I think it was like 29 grocery bags and filing office filing boxes full of books, of which I think at least 2/3, maybe 3/4 were my mom's, but that was a lot of books.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
taken pictures of all the covers, so I at least I kind of it's like, did I read that or did we have that? So yeah, so I've got it in my photo library, images of all those books, and I certainly didn't read all of them, but I read a goodly number of them, and so yeah, I'm really grateful to all those authors who will remain unnamed for the moment. Yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, why do we carry this is, the question always, why do we carry our past with us like that? And it seems like it's something sacred, but really it's not. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's, maybe my Catholic upbringing about, books are sacred.
Well, the ideas behind the books are sacred. I think that one of the most telling stories that Judy Sketch-Whitson had about, and the course's demonstrating the course's perspective on content and form is at one point Judy was in the early days of the course giving a talk about A Course in Miracles to a group of people. I think it was in New York City, and Tam Morgan has told this story is how she was too short for the microphone at the podium, so she had a 3 or 4 copies of the hardback version of the course, and so she stood on those in order to reach the microphone. Some of the people in the audience were aghast, and it was like, hey, it's a book, come on, get over it.
Oh, that's
It's
amazing.
it's the
Yeah.
ideas in the book that are important, not the physical books.
Oh,
There's
yeah. And she
nothing
was
sacred
divine.
about anything in form, right?
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah,
hilarious. Oh my
isn't that
goodness.
isn't that a good story?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's a
and and then of course the other one that Bill comes to mind is Bill Thetford, um, when he was in a study group. I think it was in was it Southern California or maybe the Bay Area. Anyway, after he'd moved to California, um, he was in a study group and was uh, one of the quieter members of the group, from what I recall in this recount recounting us. And there were two other course students that were kind of arguing and over what this certain passage in the course meant, and holding the book, and he reportedly walked over and tore the page out and crumpled it up, threw it on the floor, and says, if you're going to argue over it, you're missing the whole point of the course.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we just read that in uh, uh, um, Sharon and I read the Never Forget to Laugh.
Yeah, yeah,
We
that's
did
such a
read
it's
that. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's right. I think that was what was
yeah. There's
mentioned.
nothing here is sacred. Nothing
No,
here is
no,
sacred.
no.
No,
Well,
time
the only
forever.
here that's sacred
Respect
is the here
God.
that we all share, that's eternal and infinite and outside of space and time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, Bruce, please go ahead and
Okay, well, with no digital drum rolls available, but I'll just preface it with saying thank you, Lynn, for 9+ years of sharing Saturday mornings with me, and having read the FAQ and Gary Renard's fourth book and The Journey Home, and most recently Absent from Felicity. We're embarking on our fifth major book, A Symphony of Love, selections of Dr. Kenneth Wapnick's writings, autobiographies, poetry, short stories, and articles. And I started reading this a few years ago, and edited by Gloria Wapnick. Okay, so Ken wrote a lot of it, and then Gloria did some. His wife did a lot of editing to put it all together. I presume mostly. She probably didn't change much of the content. Um, anyway,
that's
and let's see, the digital version I'm looking at, it was copyright 2016 by the Foundation for A Course in Miracles. And uh, the version I have shows their address in Temecula, California, but I know they're now in Henderson, Nevada. And Jeff Siebert is still doing online classes on Wednesday mornings, and they're available to the public. I made a blog post, a couple of blog posts actually, with conversations with Jeff, which he very kindly consented to do. Um, and there's a bunch of links there. So if you go to acimblog.com and just put in Jeff Siebert, you can find those two blog posts. And there's tons of links to all the things regarding the Foundation for A Course in Miracles, which is an incredible resource. And I encourage everyone uh, that is seriously studying the course to take advantage of everything that they have to offer there. So shall I start with the dedication?
yeah, and it's just so interesting because I have not even looked at this book. I can't imagine I've been busy, but I just am thinking the only time I ever met Gloria, and when they came to Denver, I wanted to meet her, but I was too shy. So when I went to Temecula and was in uh the workshop, we took the Saturday or whatever, the weekend workshop, and then the week workshop, which was wonderful. And we were standing out in the wow, I think we were inside of a building. I'm pretty sure she was smoking. And but anyway, I said I introduced myself to her and I said, I really, I really love your teaching and I appreciate you. And she looked at me and she said, "When did you ever hear me teach?" And it
Yeah.
was like I was shocked. I'm like, whoa, oh, excuse me. uh Recordings. I have tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was no slouch, when you look back and watch and listen to the videos and the audios of when Ken and Gloria taught together. They made a great team, and she, in so many respects, was certainly his equal in terms of her comprehension of the course, and she had a unique way of sharing a lot of the ideas. I think very much complemented Ken's, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and anyway, I have a lot more appreciation for both of them, and I think we probably both will find that true as we read through this together over the next however many months and or years it's going to take us to go through this fifth tome that we were embarking on together on Saturday mornings. Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, go ahead and start with
Oh,
this
okay.
because
So
this is
yeah,
cool.
the
I get to
dedicate.
hear stuff I didn't even know.
What, I'm sorry. So what was that now?
There's already things I didn't even know.
Oh
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think we'll discover a lot. Like I say, I had intended to read through the whole thing, but I think I only got about a fifth of the way through it. But now we'll get to go through it together, so which will be fun. So it'll be like a new discovery. Okay, the dedication in the front of the book begins with, I am dedicating this collection of mainly unpublished writings to Kenneth Wapnick, the author, my beloved husband, partner, teacher, friend, companion, plus the adoptive father of my two sons, David and Mark, and the living grandpa of Michael, Carter, and Dante. Together we founded the Foundation for A Course in Miracles in order that the Course's magnificent wisdom and ideas would be made available to all seekers. Yeah, wonderful. So thank you, Gloria, and thank you, Ken. And yeah, what an incredible contribution. If you haven't, like I say, haven't um, explored the facim.org site, there's a great wealth and depth and breadth of material on it, and a lot of it is, of course, the bulk of it is on their their store site, the shop site, which is
right.
FACIM store .org. Um, and you can find just about anything that Ken has ever done on there, and Gloria as well.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just exciting to me to know that Ken was a grandpa.
yeah,
That
yeah. Well, he mentions his son or his grandson Dante. I think it was. I don't know if I've heard him mention Michael or Carter, but anyway. But he didn't really talk much at all about his personal life. So this is going to be
no,
kind of a rare look that we're going to be spending for the next however many months
exactly.
and
Or
years.
years.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh, I missed I missed your comment. What was that?
I said, or years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think we'll get through this one. Of course, we thought we were going to get through Absence of Felicity pretty quickly too. And
Hey,
man,
2 years and what, 4 or 5 months? That's not too bad. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, holy
yeah.
moly.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to let you read for a while because my voice is a little shaky.
Okay, I'm going to skip going through the table of contents, although they all look pretty interesting, and I think I've read, a few of them, but already. Okay, so there's several pages of
What I have next is the
the
preface.
preface. Okay, let's go for the preface. Um, Now I'm going to read preface to the second printing. It says, for this second printing, we've corrected typographical and formatting errors. The three composers' names have been added to the list in the paragraph 3 of the preface: Bach, Schubert, and Puccini. Okay, so now we'll get into the actual content. Preface by Gloria Wapnick. The purpose of this book is to present some of the unpublished writings and published professional journal writings of Dr. Kenneth Wapnick in all their diversity. I use the diversity because his poetry and his short stories are so exquisitely different. His poetry, especially being dedicated to God and Jesus, while his short stories explore different themes. Kenneth was a remarkable person, and as a writer, his brilliance is revealed in all of his books and recordings, especially in the academic fields of psychology, philosophy, world literature, along with theology, world religions, world history, the sciences, and last but not least, music. Yeah, and I was gonna, pause for a moment and just mention I inched my way over several years, at least a couple of years, through "Love Does Not Condemn." Probably the most scholarly thing I've read of Ken's that I do have a physical copy of. It's "The World, the Flesh, and the Devil According to Platonism, Christianity, Gnosticism, and A Course in Miracles." And it's very much a testament to the prodigious, prolific, and profound work of Ken, which the three adjectives that I find myself using and over again to describe his work. And in this particular one, as Gloria is pointing out, his religious world religion and religious history, he was definitely a very bright scholar in that arena, as well as being, in my mind, the world's foremost scholar and demonstrator of the principles of A Course in Miracles. So,
Absolutely, I agree.
yeah.
Although we're going to find out more in this book for sure.
Oh, yeah. Should I read the next couple of paragraphs?
Sure.
Okay. He loved the great giants of music, Mozart and Beethoven. All of their musical compositions were part of him in an unexplainable way, just as if he walked in music. Besides Mozart and Beethoven, he loved Bach, Schubert, Wagner, Verdi, Puccini, Bizet, Tchaikovsky, and Rachmaninoff, with the list continuing all the way to Broadway musicals. He was always available to help students of A Course in Miracles with their understanding and practice of course principles. His being was immersed in love, kindness, and music, and his life was a living manifestation of God's love. Thus, Kenneth himself is a symphony of love, the title of this book. Yeah, that's great. As far as always being available to help students, I know in uh, various places I've read that, Ken would spend many hours in addition to his research and publishing and lecturing, and with replying to individual letters from people asking questions. And one of a handful of those were there's a lady in the from the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center where I met her, who also has a wonderful course-related Zoom study group on Saturday mornings, which I will be attending in a couple hours. And she was talking about how um, she signed her letters. Um, my my what's that one little timid ripple
Uh-huh.
a frightened little ripple, something like that anyway. And then Ken would write back and forth to her and say, my dear uh, frightened ripple, and then with all these reassuring words and helpful suggestions of looking at her mind. And anyway, so just a quick aside is that, an example that I don't have firsthand. I did submit my my second book to the foundation for review, and quickly learned that the uniform and consistent policy was to never to do reviews, only because it would confer some kind of specialness or undue emphasis. And but they wished me uh, uh, Ken via Rosemary rather, I wished me a great success with my work, and so I appreciated that very much. But anyway, so
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Um, I know many people who wrote letters to Ken and always got answers.
uh-huh.
And one fellow I know actually made a whole book of his letters back and forth with Ken. And I thought, wow, this guy's really special. But then I started hearing more and more and more and more. And he answered every single letter. And not
Yeah,
just without, hey, thanks for writing, doing a great job or anything like. He actually, conversed with these people. And I realized, that was a testament to his connection with the Christ mind. It was that
yeah, yeah.
he every single brother, he saw every single brother as the same.
Yep,
And
yep.
that's the, I've told you my famous story of actually the first time I met Ken when I went to see him in Denver, and I had been in an accident and was I don't know if I was with a walker or just a cane at the time, but all the people went up on the dais, the kind of stage there. It was an old church, so all the people were up there talking to him and shaking his hand and being all lovey with Ken. And I was standing in the aisle down below because, first I didn't want to push in with all those people, and second because I was shy and whatever. But Ken looked up and saw me standing in the aisle, and he left all those people and walked down there and came over to me and shook my hand and was like including me. And
Hmm.
that just was astounding to me because I mean, it made me feel very special. I got to tell you that. But then I recognized later that that was just Ken. He was not going to
Hmm.
leave anybody out.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's, this is the man that we're going to be reading, and I believe getting a tremendous inspiration for our life choices through this. So anyway, let's go. So you want me to read?
sure, sure.
Okay. So I'm going to just read this. Am I going to read the acknowledgments? No. although a lot of our friends, Rosemary Lasasso, uh,
It's only two short paragraphs. Why don't you just,
okay, all right,
yeah.
let's do that. So it's in the record. Acknowledgements. I would like to thank the staff of the foundation for all their efforts and work on behalf of converting Kenneth's writing into a book. Gratitude is the way we walk in love. With deep appreciation, they are, in alphabetical order, Rosemary Lasasso, Emily Massengill, Susan Peerless, Laurel Reeves, Carla Royer, Elizabeth Schmidt, Jeffrey Siebert, Deborah Tarkington, and Virginia Tucker. So I know a few of those people, and I know you do too. So
Yeah, at least a couple of them.
lovely to see that.
And I helped when David, Gloria's son, was putting together a new website, and I had just was kind of in the final phases of working on the Foundation for Inner Peace website, acim.org, and they were redoing the facim.org for the other sister foundation. David Soler, I approached him and said, if you need any help with WordPress or whatever, because I think he was fairly new at it, just let me know. And so I sent him a handful of suggestions, and I think he implemented some of them, and we had some great conversations, and appreciated the the ideas and used a few of them. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, wow. It's
So,
amazing to be connected that way.
well, we're all interconnected. I mean,
I
and
know.
there's nothing like we've been saying earlier. There's nothing special about anyone, and the specialness is really the one of the chief obstacles to peace that gets in the way, and they represent a couple of the laws of chaos. That Tim Wise pointed out a couple of years ago. There's something that really stuck with me. Those laws, 5 laws of chaos. If you go through and read through them, they can really be crystallized and distilled down to sin, guilt, fear, special hate, and special love. And um, two of those are specialness, basically. I especially hate this, and I especially love that. And boy, talk about maintaining the belief in separation. Neither one of those will do the job nicely.
No.
Keep us miserable. Yeah,
Everybody, everybody's equally special, which means there's
that's
no
it.
special. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You got
All
it. Yeah,
right.
that's it.
So, all right, introduction. The autobiographies. When I first started to gather together all the materials from the files and elsewhere for this book, I was astounded at the amount of writing Kenneth had penned. This book begins with two very powerful unpublished autobiographies, My Life with God and My Life with Jesus. The first, My Life with God, Kenneth wrote at the request of Helen Schuckman, who urged him to do that project in 1973. The second, My Life with Jesus, was done mostly after we moved to Temecula in 2001, since people kept asking for one. One of the reasons My Life with Jesus is short compared to My Life with God is that I had asked Kenneth not to write about our relationship. So she wanted to keep that private. All right. My Life with Gloria.
Isn't that humorous? I put that in my little write-up on ACIM blog. I thought, well, you know, Ken's sense of humor is really obvious if you listen, especially if you listen to the interactions in the academy classes and workshops he did over the years. And during the questions from the audience, you could tell that he had so much fun interacting with people and had a
Yeah.
tremendous sense of humor. But here's an example where, again, Gloria was
She's pretty
was right
funny.
in there. It's like, yeah, I kept it short because my life with Jesus to not write about our relationship. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I'd read that before, but it's like, oh, the humor jumped out at me
It was very
reading it
funny.
yesterday again.
All right. So, to the best of my knowledge, no further revisions to or editing of these autobiographies occurred. From time to time, I would ask Kenneth about publishing them, but this was not a concern to him. He felt there was plenty of time for that in years to come. And so there was. Beginning with the two very powerful autobiographies, I found myself reliving with what Kenneth had experienced, even though I was not present. His description contained some amazing events that he encountered in his searching, travels, and thoughts, especially the inner presence he always felt somehow. For me, it was breathtaking to say the least. I hope you will enjoy both volumes and realize how haunting and vital his encounters were. I would like to clarify some mistaken conclusions that have been reached about Kenneth. First, his fascination with the rituals of the Roman Catholic Church, and most of all, wanting to be a monk, all pointed to a Catholic monk lifetime somewhere in the hologram of time in this dream. Kenneth was never interested in the dogma, laws, and beliefs of the Roman Catholic Church. He only wanted to be quiet with God. Some people have mistakenly believed that just because Kenneth was baptized Catholic, he was a Catholic. According to the rules of the Catholic Church, one had to be a baptized Catholic for a year before becoming a monk. And so that was the reason for his being baptized Catholic. So I find that personally, I find that really interesting because I was a baptized Catholic also.
Okay.
And that the rituals of the church are so beautiful. Everything of the church, you walk into any Catholic church, even these modern ones that have crazy architecture, whatever. You walk into a Catholic church and you are going to feel that quiet. You're going to feel that connection, that holiness it's preserved in just every part of it. And so, and there may be exceptions, but for the most part, anytime I've ever walked into a Catholic church, I have felt the presence of God, which is why, I like to go into churches. I've never felt that in any other church, and I've been to a lot of other churches. So, anyway, I can see how if all you want to do is be quiet with God, that's a place to go.
Yeah.
Just
I
go.
think the course suggests that we could do that anywhere, and that actually would be a goal for us to
Yes.
take the places that we have a belief about, and then either, let go of that belief in order to encompass every place, or expand that belief to encompass every place. And there, and just kind of like we were talking about with people, then the specialness disappears, because everything is special and everyone is special.
Yep.
And if every time and space is special, and then specialness is irrelevant.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out, Bruce, because you're absolutely right. Here I'm romanticizing this, fantasy place where,
Well, I
uh,
think I had my eyes open when well, I had dreamt of going to the Great Pyramid, after reading a book in high school called Secrets of the Great Pyramid by Peter Tompkins. And I
mhm,
was learning about all the interior passageways and chambers and the fascinating geometries and properties and phenomena having to do with those. And I got to experience a lot of that firsthand, including the amazing acoustics. When I was in what they call the King's Chamber with a group, there were 21 of us, a Fibonacci number, which I noted because of my mathematical interest. And in this room that they call the King's Chamber, but I learned beforehand that if they had done the typical Egyptian funerary rite that we were taught of putting a body in a big box, and including the so-called sarcophagus, that which remains, to my knowledge, there to this day. I can't imagine this they would have removed it, because the granite box that's in that uppermost publicly accessible room that they call the King's Chamber, when we visited there in the fall of '92, um, the dimensions of that granite box, which I think is erroneously called a sarcophagus, is bigger than the dimensions of the passageway that you have to crawl hunched over to get into that room. So they certainly didn't take the body, put it in the box, and and haul it into the king's chamber after the alleged Cheops or Khufu pharaoh passed on, as the story goes, because the box would have had to have been built at the time of the construction of the pyramid inside that room,
yeah,
because there's no way to get the box in or out of that room otherwise. So much for that theory, right? At least that part of the theory. But
yeah,
anyway, but when I was laying down in that granite box and toning, because I was into all that kind of new agey stuff, I felt as if a thousand voice choir was singing through me, but because the acoustics were just amazing and the echoes, but not only in that room that had a 2, 4, square root of 5 proportions, interesting geometry, and then echoing up and down this diagonal passageway called the Grand Gallery, and all the acoustics of these corbelled, walls that had decreasing widths as you went up. Well, you didn't as you were traversed up the sides of those, if you could do that, which you can't because it's too tall. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling a bit, but the point of it was that I learned that the state of mind that I experienced in that was not unique to that particular structure. And in the same way that when I dabbled in biofeedback in the 70s, I had a little machine that uh, I attached to the scalp. It was, kind of like early biofeedback training machine. Alpha Metrics, I think, was the manufacturer, and introduced to me by a fellow named Paul Beaver, who was a Los Angeles studio musician who worked with Bernie Krause, and they recorded wonderful music in the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco with a number of prominent artists at the time, and I just loved the music and the acoustics. And then when Paul Horn did the recording of the Taj Mahal with his flute and singing,
Mhm.
I was inspired, and I said, "Hey, why don't we go to Egypt and record electronic music and all whatever else, And Paul loved this idea. Then this was before the internet. I was emailing back and forth, and I was basically in college at the time, and I took a year off from college in the fall of '73 to go there with him, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for it, but I think my folks were willing to load me the money. and 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 I had gotten shots and everything to go to Egypt and everything, and about that time, the Egypt-Israeli hostilities broke out, and
Oh, geez.
and it's like, well, I don't think you should go there, And when we went 19 years later in fall of '92, and we could see some of the aftermath of the war that took place in that part of Egypt, and it was a good thing that we didn't go there. But so that trip didn't never materialize as planned. But I did get to record with the acoustics of the Great Pyramid almost 20 years later, and it was pretty interesting stuff. But then I realized, the the brain waves the alpha rhythms that my friend Paul, the musician, I would have gone to Egypt with, but I got to meet a couple times in his studio in Los Angeles. This huge Moog synthesizer and a whole room full of old musical equipment, harpsichords, and a giant Yamaha organ and all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but hopefully it'll be interesting. But anyway, the point of it is that the brain waves that I experienced using this biofeedback machine that Paul suggested and I happily enjoyed, I realized, well, I could go to that mental state anytime I wanted to once I learned that it was my mind that was choosing that, not the biofeedback, but that became a trigger or a catalyst to realizing that I could be in a peaceful state no matter what. And then the same thing with the experience in what the so-called King's Chamber. It's like, well, I could put myself in that same frame of mind, and then what I would say today is, and we can all do that, not by going to a specific place or a particular, burning a particular kind of incense or sitting in a particular kind of lotus position or doing whatever New Agey or non-New Agey ritual we find helpful, but simply by choosing the teacher of non-duality, the teacher of kindness, the teacher of forgiveness, which we would call Holy Spirit or the Jesus of the Course. How's that for wrapping up a
That
long-winded
that that that
aside?
that does it, right? That
Anyway,
does it for
thanks
sure.
for your permission to and and
It's
and
okay.
and patience and
Uh, so,
wound my way through that little narrative here.
and I know I I don't know if you've seen the Pope rave thing.
I guess not.
Okay, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
I'm going to show you something that is probably going to it certainly did amaze me, and uh, this is a surprise birthday party for a bishop.
Okay.
Okay, this is
Not
gonna
not a
blow.
chess piece, I presume.
No, not
One
a
one of
chess
those one
piece.
of those Catholic type bishops. Okay.
Yes, one
Okay.
of
That's
those
why that's
Catholic
why I wanted to
kind
make
of.
sure I got it straight. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Do I have the sound on here? All right.
Amen.
to me.
All right, I'm not going to show the whole thing. You
Okay.
can look it up, but it is I believe the guy is a cardinal that's doing the music.
Yeah.
And not a cardinal, but like a bishop or something that's doing the
Okay.
music. And so there's videos of him sitting at the keyboard with all these doing this, this is our Pope. I'm so excited because
Not
man,
about the form, huh? Yeah.
here is a man who has
Yeah.
said, this church is coming into today, and we got a teenager who's a saint now, and whatever you believe about those rituals, this is saying something to me about um, the 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 energy that's moving through this world right now that I find just so exciting and compelling. Anyway, enough of that. Let us go on to the poetry.
Okay.
All right. So Gloria says, it is difficult to date Kenneth's poetry. There are notations on a few. To Beethoven was written Labor Day 1971. Another untitled message simply includes the date October 28th, 1976. And a message on voting is dated October 30th, 1976. All the other poetry does not contain any dates, but certainly has a plenitude of devotion and love expressed to God and Jesus in many different forms. I find that Kenneth's total dedication to God and Jesus, which was always expressed in his life, imbues everything he ever wrote.
Did Pardon
Since
me,
God
Lynn?
was,
Did we actually? I was trying to find where you were, and did we read the intro part called the autobiographies,
yeah,
or what?
yeah,
Or was I?
yeah,
Okay, okay. So
yeah,
I
that's
was.
what we were just reading was the
Oh,
autobiographies.
okay, okay. So I must just skip something there.
You were here.
His fascination with the rituals of the Roman Catholic Church and wanting to be a monk. Okay, I guess I must have spaced out when we read all that. Yeah. Okay, which is not out of the possibility. So yeah,
Oh, I
I've
know
I've
it's
spaced
early
out.
there.
I've spaced out plenty of times before. Okay, good, good. Okay, well,
All
never
right.
mind. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Now I'm back on poetry. Okay.
Okay. I find that Kenneth's total dedication. I know I threw you off with that rape with the Pope.
Oh, that, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, that's fine. Yeah.
Um, anyway, I find that Kenneth's total dedication to God and Jesus, which was always expressed in his life, imbues in everything he ever wrote, since God was always very present for him in his mind. I hope you find this poetry as moving as I do and enjoy the haunting quality of love expressed therein. And I know Ken was a Pisces, but had a very like emotional side to him that was so clear. All right, short stories. The three short stories presented here are totally different in theme, feeling, style, and expression. After reading them, you will get a sense of how diverse the writing talents of Kenneth are. The first, the Arroya finale, is
Eroica,
all about a
I think. Yeah.
conductor,
Yeah.
Joseph Kunzberg, who is modeled after William, oh geez, Furtwängler, considered to be the greatest German Beethoven conductor of the 20th century. For here, I was thinking it was a guy on a train. Okay, Kenneth considered Furtwängler the only conductor who really understood Beethoven's music and conducted it as Beethoven would have. It is a very touching tale of a giant in the field of music, presented in a very moving way. The second, Lohengrin, takes place in a German duchy in a town near a river. It is quite intriguing as it is based on a German mystical folk tale about a young man, Lohengrin, who arrives in the town of Brabant to correct the misdeeds and wrongdoings of two of its residents. He meets up with Elsa, who is the symbol of innocence, and in the tale, who falls in love with him. For reasons explained in the story, Lohengrin cannot settle down with her, as he is on a great mission, being the son of Parsifal, the keeper of the Holy Grail. Do we have any grails here? Being in
Another
really
Monty
got one.
Python pop cultural reference? Yes, sure, of course we do. Actually, over 10 years ago, since you just a quick, slightly backing up just a smidge, um, I made a bulletin in ACIM blog that was devoted to all the music that Ken Wapnick, or, well, whatever was familiar with at the time of what Ken Wapnick was inspired by, and particularly the late quartets from Beethoven. I'm reviewing that post right now. I'll put it in the chat. Um, it's my January 2015 uh, blog. I was doing a monthly bulletin, and I labeled them by month at that time rather than by topic. But anyway, this one, if you put Beethoven in the search function on acimblog.com, you can find it very quickly. But there's a really cool movie that refers to um, the late quartets. It's called A Late Quartet. Uh, that's you can watch that movie, and it's very interesting. But the whole post is devoted to all the music that I knew of that Ken referred to in his work. And there's
Wow.
a couple that looks like I need to update, but links to at least. But anyway, you might find that interesting. And
Yeah, that would be very cool.
yeah.
Thank you, Bruce, for doing that.
Oh, sure, you
All
bet.
the work you do. It's so cool. Uh, all right. So the third short story is called Moses. Began in 1969 and was finished at the end of 1971. Is quite controversial. It presents a Moses with many human weaknesses who is totally different from the biblical account. I leave it to the reader, who may be upset at the ethical code of conduct Moses presents herein, to grapple with the relationship Moses had with God. The story is a very thought-provoking, and the reader has to question the judgments it may elicit and the values it challenges. So that'll be interesting.
Mhm.
Let's see. You want to read for a while at
Sure,
the articles?
sure.
I know
Uh,
you have a paper book, a physical book.
no, I have a digital book. This is the first time I'm reading from the screen rather than a
It's so
physical
weird
book.
because this is a digital book too, and it didn't have those updates that you put in there that you read about the
Huh.
composers.
Well, I don't know. I've had it for at least a couple of years, I think,
Oh,
because
okay.
I've been meaning to read this for quite some time, as we've discussed,
Me
and
too.
now we're
No,
finally reading it. So I'm glad we're
how
getting to it.
funny.
I've
All
like
right.
I say, I got maybe 20% through it, and then it was like, oh, I need to get back to it. But anyway,
All
so
right.
now
We'll
we're doing it.
continue.
Okay, articles. The articles by Kenneth Wapnick, 13 previously published in various journals and 9 previously unpublished, represent explanations and teachings of A Course in Miracles. Students will find these helpful since they address many important topics that have surfaced over the years as students have worked with the material. I hope you will enjoy the erudite nature of these brilliant articles. Yeah, and brilliance is an understatement, I think. And again, I keep coming back to 3 adjectives to describe Ken's work: as profound, uh, prodigious, and prolific. And yeah, and the brilliance is just wonderful, and I think it's such a perfect complement to the course. And I'm so glad that Gary Renard's books, when I first started reading those in 2007, suggested that I check out Ken's work, and I discovered, oh, I actually bought one of his books and hadn't cracked it, which was Absence from Felicity, not but the one about Jesus, Forgiveness in Jesus.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I
Yeah.
went back and read that, which I'd actually been set aside because I was a little put off by the figure of Jesus on the cover because of my religious baggage. and and so anyway, so that was interesting. So,
And actually, we're reading that book on Friday mornings.
oh,
We
cool,
have
very cool.
a couple of people that are reading Forgiveness in Jesus on
Yeah,
Friday.
it's a good book. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it
you can
is.
tell that was one of his earliest books too, and you can tell that Ken had this, pretty much all figured out from the get-go. And by the time he started writing and teaching, he didn't kind of, as a lot of us have done, kind of start pontificating before really getting the idea of what the course is all
What are you
about.
saying?
Well, I know I've done plenty. I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for anyone else, but it seems like there may be a few others that have done that. And so I'm apologizing in advance and in arrears for anything that I might have said
In
that.
advance and in arrears. You're so funny. Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
Okay.
okay. So then the last little short paragraph is about the appendix. The first part contains statements of appreciation about Kenneth. The second part contains a list of all of Kenneth's works published by the Foundation for A Course in Miracles. And again, that website is facim.org. which is a great complement to ACIM.org, and those are the two sister foundations that I suspect and suggest that everyone studying involved with the course in any meaningful way become very familiar with it. So, part one, autobiographies, my life with God, my life with Jesus. And this first one of my life with God, autobiography one. Okay. I've been asked to write about my life to tell the story of how I came to be the person I am now. The purpose of this autobiography, as I understand it, is to demonstrate to others that God is very much active in our world, that He is present even in the most unlikely and unexpected of circumstances. As I am concerned here only with God's presence in my life and how over the years I came to know Him, the external happening of my 31 years are unimportant and will be brought up only to provide the framework for the internal events as they developed. So he wrote this first autobiography when he was 31 and he lived to 71. So this is 40 years uh, prior to his passing, and so that's interesting context, isn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised when I read that 31 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, he
Yeah,
was just a
yeah.
kid. But this was so he passed in
It was what,
what was
13,
two
14 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So we can do the math and figure out
Yeah,
how
yeah. Anyway,
but
um, I'll continue. The inner thread linking these events. Uh, did I finish the whole sentence? Let me back it up. Okay. As I'm concerned here only with God's presence in my life and how over the years I came to know Him, the external happening of my 31 years are unimportant and will be brought up only to provide the framework for the internal events as they developed. And kudos to Ken for having that attitude throughout all of his work, from what I can tell. And I can't think of any examples that are different. Because I mean, he's basically in addition, I'm tripping over myself. In addition to introducing me, probably a lot of others to like the profundity of the music of Beethoven and Mozart, and uh, reintroducing me to my scant exposure to Shakespeare and Plato and Freud, and so many other wonderful thinkers and um, philosophers over the ages. Ken always used those references that seemed asides to bolster and reinforce and broaden the foundation of the course's teachings. So thank you, Ken. He's here with us as is Gloria in our minds, right?
right, exactly. And so this was in like 1973 when he wrote this
That would
here.
be about right, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Give or take, huh? Okay. Um, let's see. The inner thread linking these events, which only recently has become apparent to me, is able to connect seemingly unrelated occurrences and renders explicable behavior and experiences which otherwise might seem peculiar. I, I'm going to have another quick aside here, since since we're doing the sashaying read, not the high speed race read, as always. The related of inexplicable behavior of unrelated occurrences. I remember when I was at UC Davis as an undergraduate in California and studying ostensibly engineering. And I actually did finally finish an engineering degree after I went back after a 6-year hiatus and had all the meat and potatoes classes to take after I had used up all my electives on the things I really was interested in, which was things like uh, uh, well, the psychology classes from Charlie Tart, for example. I took 3 of those in addition to a core set of core classes in psychology and community development. And my major at one point was applied behavioral science and community development. And my parents were kind of like puzzles of why I would want to study that in engineering and psychology. And yet when I look at my life now in retrospect, it's like all those made perfect sense. Studying the work of Gurdjieff and transpersonal psychology and what was the other one I took from Charlie Tart? Altered States of Consciousness, which is his the the massive tome that he was most known for, and even coining that phrase. And and I realized, well, all those things were really vital to putting the foundation together for what for me, not too long after I got out of school the first time, discovering A Course in Miracles and then finally picking it up in the mid 80s. Um, and it was like, oh, all those pieces, laid part of that foundation. So at the time, it's like, well, how could these possibly relate? But then it was like, oh, now they all fit.
Yeah, it's a whole purpose for all of it, and it all came
Yeah,
together
yeah,
in the
yeah,
most amazing way. And
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
that's what's so beautiful and so integrated. And I think about that myself because you know me, I'm like Miss, science. My favorite thing to look at are microbes, and
Yeah.
and but it all comes together when I see how everything is just one big organic uh being, what we are and what is, and all these little understandings of the little parts of it really come together to show that the part is the whole. It's all the same. And if you never studied science in your life, or you never studied philosophy, or never studied psychology, or these are the building bricks of what we think we are here. And
Hmm.
so all of those things come together in, I think, a very balanced way. And that's what I appreciate about you so much,
Well, likewise,
because I
likewise.
could
Yeah.
talk to you about anything and you would know something about it or find out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like we've been talking about well, Helen and Bill, but Ken and Gloria is complementary as well, of course, and Ken and Helen's obviously partnership was tremendous. As well. But we're everyone is our partner and our long lost best friend and our savior seen properly because they help us remind us that we're all being given the optimal teaching at every moment, a mathematically perfect classroom to forgive the differences that we've made up in our mind and see that we're all the same and um, using that sameness uh, and practicing forgiveness, we return to the oneness that we never left. And what you just shared, Lynn, reminded me of this wonderful um, phrase from lesson 135. And what I put in the chat, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you've misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you. But your defenses did not let you see his loving blessings shine in every step you ever took. While you made plans for death, he led you gently to eternal life. So all these things that we're puzzled by is like, well, why does this seem to be happening to me? Well, it's really because I'm getting to see what's coming from my mind, and that becomes the classroom of forgiveness of seeing that it's I don't have to blame anyone, including myself, for the dream that is it seen properly an instrument for teaching me that I, along with everyone else, is eternally innocent and eternally interconnected and one.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Now, this morning, Larry in the Pal Talk room was reading the section, the justification for forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
If you have, of course, I know you've read it. If you haven't really looked at the justification for forgiveness, you really take a look at it, because it really is describing to us uh, why the only logical conclusion to any of this is it never happened.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Is so perfectly clear. And yeah, let's see. How about I read a little bit? We got a few more minutes. Maybe we can get partly through this story. And if not, we can do it again next week. So
Yeah.
uh
Exactly. Boy, time has flown. I thought we had half an hour. We're
I
down to the last
know,
3 minutes.
we used to do that. We used to have a whole longer time, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
this is fine. All right. So, am I on the right thing here? I'm trying to move the page on the
And thanks
Zoom
for the
screen.
comments from Robert and Dove and everyone else for joining with us this morning too.
Yeah,
I've got to. Um, I was
I'm
born
going
of
to go
Jewish
ahead and put the
parents.
marker.
Yeah. That's probably a good spot. Yeah, maybe we just should start pick up with that again next week.
Yeah, because I really want to read the story.
Yeah,
And
let's do that. Let's do that.
so let's
Well, maybe just to recap, this is our first week reading um, A Symphony of Love that's edited by Gloria Wapnick, and it's a collection of autobiographies and stories from all written by Ken Wapnick. And um, this is just the first week of many after we've spent 9+ years reading from the Q&A. We read quite a few of those, didn't we? And then other topics prior to that. And then we read Gary Renard's fourth book, The Lifetimes When Jesus and Buddha Knew Each Other. I always think that should be Mary Magdalene should be in that title too, but that's
yeah,
she's
no
every much as
kidding. What
part
they
of
need
that.
her help for.
and and then the Journey Home, one of Ken's masterworks about with the framework being chapter 19 and the obstacles to peace. And then we read most recently the biography that Ken did about Helen, The Absence from Felicity, and just finished that last week. So that's the context for our 9+ years of Saturday morning conversations. And thank you so much, Lynn, for being here with me on all those many years to be continued. And I'm glad we're finally getting into this uh, fourth biography. There's two others that one is Double Vision that not too many people. I've got it in front of me here. It's that Judy Skutch at the time and her daughter Tam Cohen at the time wrote together, and you could probably, if you hunt around online, you might be able to find a copy. And then that kind of
Can
completes
find
the.
I was able to get one
Oh, good.
uh, on Amazon. So
Oh, great. Yeah. Maybe who knows? Maybe we could read that one next. It's kind of a fun read. It's
yeah,
it's
if it
it's.
was on digital, but it's very tiny print.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I would love that.
Okay. Well, again,
Uh,
thanks, Lynn, and look forward to picking up where we left off.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I love you, brother, and we
Likewise.
will see you next week.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it very
All
much.
right,
Thanks a lot.
and please follow us, subscribe, and like, and you'll know every time we're on.
Yep.
It'll give you in a little alarm. So
Yeah. And I have a write-up of a lot of things we just talked about. It's the most recent post on acimblog.com, and
yes,
you can
yes,
subscribe there to my monthly
yeah,
bulletin. And
ACIMblog.com.
great.
And
Th-